good evening, everyone. We are in the Public Art Select Committee for Thursday, October 12th, 11th. Alton Squallow and Pleased to Electimate Classical Squamish, a whale mail. Welcome to the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. The committee has an agenda in front of it. We have a couple people who were supposed to present and they're not able to make it, so Sarah Bainbridge will not be here, although I think Devon will outline what I think Sarah will bring back to the committee at the meeting. And as well, Rachel Ann, we unfortunately sent her the wrong date. We feel really badly.
Mea culpa.
She was here last night. We were not. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it tonight, so she'll come to the next meeting as well. So with that, we will look for a motion to adopt the amended agenda. Moved by Toby, seconded by Anna. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Terry, you can see everyone's name?
I can, I'm good.
Okay, that's Peter, Angela, Anna.
I'll give her the lowdown afterwards if she
Okay. So first up, we have the minutes from the committee meeting on September 5th. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Anna, seconded by Cydney. Any errors or omissions in the minutes? I saw one, and I can't remember what it is now. Oh yeah, it said hospital park, and that was supposed to be hospital art program.
Yeah, there was there. Yes, correct.
So let's just replace the word park with art. So anything else? Seeing none, I'll call the question on it as approved, as modified. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Just one little thing. We had recommended that Jackie be on the ADP. The ADP, I think, is coming to council. The actual, what do you call that, Devon? Help me. The terms of reference for the ADP has to be amended in order to actually follow through with that, so we will wait until that happens. Okay, moving on. Any other business arising? Seeing none. First up, we have the Cheakamus Center art proposal. Devon, do you want to just briefly outline your conversation with Sarah? And
There are not enough agendas. Sorry.
I have mine on the computer. You can use that one.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah Bainbridge from the Cheakamus Center approached me after our last meeting with a proposal to work with. I'm not going to attempt his Squamish Nation name.
Halacton?
Thank you. So she was going to speak to it herself this evening, but is unavailable to join us tonight. So in front of you, you will see what she was going to speak to. The first item being or one of two being the project budget, and the second being the letter from the Cheakamus Center. So I'm interpreting this as her working with and kind of acting on behalf of Mr. Harry. And so we'll give Public Art Committee a moment to read.
You can't just give us this.
Oh yeah, it's quite vague. So the synopsis is that the artist is flexible in terms of working with the preferred site and the preferred location for permanent install. Looking at the budget, it would really be of benefit for Ms. Bainbridge to come in and speak to it. As my limited knowledge of carving, initially the budgeted 20 days doesn't feel realistic to me. So I don't know if they're trying to do student learning in there with some experiential learning so that the students take over it, or if 20 days really is a realistic carve time for Mr. Harry.
Any questions?
I
Anna?
apologize, I did miss the last meeting.
This has to do with the reconciliation project,
Right.
and we got
You
essentially.
selected someone?
We didn't. We only got one proposal and it didn't meet our criteria.
Okay.
I think this is an attempt to modify the proposal to attempt to meet our expectations and our criteria.
Okay.
And we don't have to make a decision today, we just wanted to bring it to the committee's attention. Yeah, so there's no decision necessarily.
So it appears as though the Cheakamus Centre is asking for $26,000 to get this project going.
I think what Devon said was the Cheakamus Centre, or I guess Sarah in particular, is acting as a broker for Rick, helping him put the proposal together.
So if I'm correct, they gave us a letter and a proposal at our last meeting. Is this the same one, or is this a new?
This is a modified
A
version of
modified
that
version, okay.
in their attempt to meet the criteria that we.
Okay.
Sid?
Just to confirm, Devon, in your conversations with Sarah, it does say here the work can be installed at any location. So I guess just to reiterate that the proposal is to anywhere within the district of Squamish is go.
Yeah, so what staff heard through the iterations of putting the call together was that we really wanted to keep it in the downtown core, and that we were looking for, the committee, I think, was really looking for a artist to come forward with a proposal in terms of like an entire concept, in terms of not only the art piece, but why it spoke to that particular site and contributed to the story of truth and reconciliation in some capacity. So I think that this is a very high level, it's a high level conversation as well as a high level proposal.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I like the idea of the metaphor of the door. You know, opening the door. But I don't even necessarily think it needs to be doors. I mean, it could be doors, but not the building. So I think it's worthy of more conversation with Sarah and Rick, I guess, indirectly.
Staff will invite
Yeah.
Ms. Bainbridge back for the next meeting.
Where's this door
Yeah, I
concept?
don't know
I
if it's
see,
doors.
I see a welcome figure.
It was in last week's agenda.
Yeah.
Is it
It's
part
not-
of
it
the
doesn't say
figure?
all that, it says
No,
figure.
it's just,
Oh, does it?
yeah, that's why I was asking you, is
Yeah.
this the
Sorry,
same
that was-
proposal? So they've modified it
I
and taken out?
like that it's
No.
a figure, actually, a welcome figure.
I didn't read closely enough, obviously.
No, it's a very, there's no door reference. The door reference was for their original proposal.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll just wait.
So
But
they've
no
modified
drawings, there's no drawings or anything or concepts at all?
No drawings
There's
came with this,
concept.
no concept.
Halakton's a very famous artist. He's a phenomenal artist, so I have every confidence he'll do something spectacular. I don't think that's the question at all.
Did
Peter?
Sarah indicate, previously it was pretty evident in their proposal that it was going on their site, so that it's a great thing for the Cheakamus Centre as well as the artists, so it would be fantastic. Now this is not going on. Did she indicate why they are still involved?
Because there's a student element involved, so I would want her to elaborate on that commentary, but I'm assuming that because of the student and the education element, that they can spin it
Yep.
that way.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Can I
Chair? Yeah, Meg?
put in just 2 cents? Halakton's work already exists in Squamish. The two-headed serpent at this high school is his work. And I think the door to the library is his work.
And the totem hall, the big
The hydro
etched
pole
glass.
is his work. The
Reconciliation pool at Cheakamus Centre is his work.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot of his work actually here already.
Okay.
And he was born and brought up here too.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay, next we have, pardon me, I'm just running down here. Cydney, Squamish Arts Council Pavilion decals.
So the arts, I don't know if anyone's seen the Ocean Pavilion since July, but
Hopefully.
and downtown. There are these blue decals that are up on the pavilion. The artwork is by Sarah Lyons, who did the flags that are part of the street banner project, and we, Arts Council commissioned those decals as part of the Wind Festival for the Arts. They're 100% removable. However, we're coming to the committee to ask, would this committee like to see those stay up, or would you prefer us to take them down? I guess I would preface saying, it makes no difference to Arts Council aside from a little bit more volunteer time and having more art in the community. So really putting it back to you guys in terms of
How durable
Do we have a
are
picture of
they?
it?
I think they look fabulous.
Oh, yeah. I
And add lots of
I'm trying to
color to
remember.
the party.
They are. My only question is how durable are they in the rain and the snow?
very,
Okay.
the same thing that you would wrap like a car in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right, okay.
We could get a picture up of it, or I could bring one up from my phone.
There's got to be one on your
BI.
Instagram page or something like that.
The
guess the
website, this is a picture of the street. I mean, is it between that and yours?
No, it's on the
Oh,
pavilion itself, the OC pavilion.
the-
I guess the question would be, why would we want to take them down?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like,
That's up to the community.
I just
If
want
there's
to
something-
Get
remind
a
myself
visual
what they
in my
look like.
head, Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
They're graphic, they're blue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blues.
They fit the shape beautifully.
It looks great against the wood because
Mhm.
the complementary colors.
Hold on here. It wouldn't be on our website, but if you search Squamish Wind Festival for the Arts Instagram,
Oh, is the Wind Festival a separate?
it's a separate thing.
It's this.
Is that the one? No.
Put Squamish.
It's Squamish in there.
There we go.
Is that it, Sydney?
Yeah, that's the first one. So, there's a photo.
How about Sydney look it up on her phone, email it to you, and we'll move on the agenda to the Turtle Trail.
The problem is I need a computer.
That's all right. You can do the computer, and by the time you're done,
We'll find it.
we'll have sent an email to Devon.
Hit it, Meg.
Okay. There are three things that I want to do. Some of you will be quite familiar with the Turtle Trail. Some of you will have never seen it, so I want to do a brief introduction. Then I want to do a project overview. And then I want to float a concept by you for the storytelling for the interpretive plan. And that would have provision, again, subject to conversation, for artists and a role with artists in that interpretive plan. So at the top of the drawing, you can see, so first of all, where is this trail? At the top of the plan, you can see the Squamish River. To the right-hand side is the Mampum River. To the bottom of the drawing is Loggers Lane and Loggers Creek. And of course, to the left-hand side is Howe Sound. The trail itself is about 12 kilometers long. The Stanley Park seawall is about 10 kilometers long, so they're not too far different. Family friendly, it's virtually flat, the whole thing. On the lower portion of it, it is paved, so it's already wheelchair accessible. The upper portion is gravel, so work needs to be done on that if we want to bring it up to standard for wheelchair accessibility.
When you say lower, you mean the bottom of the photo?
Yeah.
Oh,
and the top
okay.
of the photo.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's what I was
So
gonna ask.
east and west.
I was going to drive, so maybe I...
Want to switch spots? Or do you?
No, I brought all my stuff here, so we'll just play with it. I want to just go around because the trail also joins 5 nodes, and these are important for the interpretive plan. So down at the bottom left is the Adventure Center, and you can see a kiosk there in the white. Then moving around over to the left is the Brew Pub. The Sikh Temple is next, and then another click of the wheel, and we've got the West Coast Railway Heritage Park, and then coming back full circle, we've got Brennan Park. Going around again, at the Adventure Center, you can see, depending if you're a land turtle person or a ocean turtle person, either the flipper or the leg goes to the Smoke Bluffs Park. The Turtle Head by the Brew Pub, that goes to the Nexon Oceanfront lands. The Sikh Temple, it goes to the estuary trails. By the West Coast Railway Heritage Park, it actually accesses the fishing hole by the Mampum and also the wind sports. And down at the bottom, there's walking trails there, the Spawning Channel trails. Okay, let's get to the next, please. So that's kind of a general introduction, and there'll be more coming on. This is a project overview, as it is labeled. And when we actually look at the turtle in a slightly different way, you may choose to use an image of like a house and a foundation and a roof kind of thing. But we're working from the bottom in layers. So over on the right-hand side, you can see there's a physical trail. That's the foundation layer. The District of Squamish has put together, has commissioned the feasibility study and the estimate for the trail itself, and it's really more a guesstimate than a genuine hardcore estimate, is about $2 million to put this together. Again, that is not specifying any kind of a timeline or the work that would go on with respect to different developers, that kind of thing, but it gives you a kind of ballpark about what we're looking at here. And the district has, the last couple of budget cycles, also done some improvements of the trail, from the Sikh Temple to Castle Rock, that kind of thing.
Can you remind me, Meg, the $2 million, did that include acquisition of lands?
Listen, it's just, this is honestly so that you can compare if we improve one section, if we improve compared to the other. And as you know, there's all kinds of issues with private property and routing and that kind of stuff too. So it's, my purpose here is more to say, you know, this work has been done, this kind of commitment has been shown, but there's no time frame for this. This is an important part, the base of the whole concept. Second, you can see the red banner and the red layer, and that is the wayfinding. And some people have asked me, well, why do you actually have wayfinding separate from the trail? And my somewhat tongue-in-cheek answer is, look, I can find this way around this trail, you know, in the middle of the winter, in the middle of the night, in the middle of a snowstorm, blindfolded. But the trail is not for me. The trail is for when we've got people coming into town, whether they're in-laws, whether they're visitors, whether they're new people in town. People have to be able to find their way around. You know, so what we are doing as the Trail Society is we are flagging the trail using little blue turtles. Okay, so this is a start, so we actually have an idea of different routing. The district, as you are aware, has invested in a plan, and it looks like this, and phase 2 of this is being installed as we speak. Between the flagging and this level of trail, there's a big gap. Okay, so I need to do some work in terms of routing, in terms of what kind of temporary or almost permanent markers are going to be around there. So this is a big chunk that still needs to be done on this particular file. Looking at storytelling, this is the one that perhaps would be of most interest to this group. I'm going to come back to that because that'll be a big chunk in a minute. But I wanted to show you this. This was done 20 years ago, and this was the proposal that was put together for Eagle Watch. Okay, so we need to get all this information, mapping, that kind of thing together in this kind of thing before we start going for significant funding for this. It just needs to be a place as far as I'm concerned. So this is yet to be written, it's yet to be done, and how we do that is going to be an interesting challenge. The top is promotion, communication, market research. There's been a whole bunch of bits and pieces of stuff. One is the Turtle Trail map, which you may or may not have seen. I'll pass them around at the end so you can have a look at it. This was funded, the print cost was funded by the Community Foundation. We have done a number of community crawl, going around and actually seeing where it is. And the community crawl was not only to explain what ideas there were, but also to get market research. You know, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, that kind of thing. So this is ongoing in terms of keeping interest in the community, in the project, garnering information as we go along. And I'd be delighted to set up a, you know, if you want to go for a bike ride, nice day, and go around and actually have it, you know, more than welcome to do that. More than happy to do that. Okay, so now let's go to the next one, please. You can see this board, and you can see the one over there that's got a bunch of stickies and looks a whole lot messier. This board is a way of organizing stories and complex stories. So on the left-hand side, the column there are the 5 potential kiosks, those 5 nodes, those 5 destinations. So that's the Adventure Center, the Brew Pub, Sikh Temple, Railway Heritage Park, and Brennan Park. On the right hand, well, right across the top, there's a potential of 12 columns here. Now, a lot of this would be quite a lot of information if we choose to do this. We will have later on a chance to look at some kiosk designs, and if we decide we only want, you know, a 4x8 for the total kind of panel, then we'll be able to accommodate a certain amount, but definitely not all this project. So a lot of this will depend on kiosk design. I want to just run you through some of the potential topics on this. So on the right-hand side, I've got maps. When we actually looked at the turtle legs, then having a map of the for example, of the smoke bluffs would be a logical thing to have. Having a map of the gateway, the entrance to the estuary trails, having a map of some of the other things would be interesting. The district right at the moment is working on with the mountain bikers. The mountain bikers have built their sign system, their information system from the bottom up. They don't like losing people or losing their way when they're actually on the trail, so they've got little signs all around. Now the district has said, okay, we've got some problems in terms of where do people park and where do they know where they're going. So the district is working on this now, which is absolutely fabulous, building that second layer. My experience this summer, I was coming back at 7:30 in the morning from the pool, from a swim, and I was followed through Rose Park by 3 guys in spandex and this kind of stuff. I stopped to let them by, and they stopped too, and they said, where does this trail go to? And I said, well, it kind of goes to the downtown. And they said, well, we'll turn around here. And I thought, well, it goes to the estuary too. And they said, oh, that's interesting. Maybe we should go around and actually have a look. Then they said to me, is there any mountain biking in Squamish? Okay. The answer is yes. There's lots. Where do we find information? Well, the problem was the Adventure Center was closed. All the bike shops were closed. There was indeed an app, you know, and there's websites and all that good kind of stuff. But I thought, you know, what I really would like to have is at Brennan Park, you know, a map that shows all the mountain biking, you know, what's really more beginner, what's really more expert, where are the parking areas, where's all that information. So then I can direct them to one point. And I could say to them, look, 5 minutes down in that direction, you'll actually go and you'll find all the information that you want. Or if you've got an hour, then you can actually tour the town. You can go under here, you can follow the turtle trail around, you can see where the estuary is, where the yacht club is, you can get up on the dike, and it'll take you maybe an hour kind of thing to get to the same place, and then you can see that. That to me is the real welcome. That's saying we anticipate people are going to be coming here. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. So I'm really happy with that. So maps. Second to that, we may want to do a map of the district, so from the gondola, to the fish hatchery, from the university to the wind sports, how is this valley put together? So that may be the next column. The Laughing Turtle Trail, the third column in, based on this map, and I think that's logical, maybe it will change, that appears at all those different locations. Next to that is Squamish Nation. The major inspiration for this was the 2012 Truth and Reconciliation Bright New Dawn meeting at Totem Hall. One of the recommendations was that we actually look at doing a Truth and Reconciliation trail in Squamish. One of the lessons that one learns when one participates in the healing sharing circles is that being able to speak is really important, but of infinite more importance is to listen to other people's stories in that space. And so the intention of this trail is to mimic that in some ways, to try and make as much space for as many different groups and ideas to be able to bring an appetizer to the table. They're not going to be able to tell the whole story, absolutely not. That's where apps, websites, festivals, buildings come in. But this is the key to us starting a conversation in Squamish, so that's what I'm interested in. So theme 1, theme 2, let's just rapidly gallop around again that trail. At the Adventure Center, it seems logical to me that outdoor recreation is one of the themes. I think the other one should be forestry. And again, forestry has been really important in this town. Recreation is important in this town too. Let's click the wheel and go around to the brew pub. When I think about the brew pub, what hops to my mind is literally hops and the agricultural history of this valley. And we used to export hops to Great Britain until the First World War. So maybe we should look at food in this area because we all need to eat. And again, the whole issue of food security is something that I know the district has been looking at as well. So there's a whole bunch of possibilities there. Not too long ago, there used to be a bumper sticker that said, "Forestry feeds my family." Right, forestry still feeds a lot of families in this town, but so do a lot of other businesses. So I think it would be useful to actually look at businesses, and the brew pub is a business. So looking at businesses at this location as well. So if this becomes how we eat, which I think is critical and important, the economy, then let's click around, and by the Sikh temple, what we're looking at is we all need to belong as well. So my idea, again, the Sikh community is there, and I'm wondering how many different languages are spoken in Squamish? It's a really interesting question. How many doorways, gateways to culture and to the world exist in this community? I don't know, but it might be interesting to look at that question. Then how do we actually build the social fabric and network? Okay, there's some of us sing in choirs, some of us play sports, some of us do painting. There's all kinds of ways of doing it, but maybe what we should look at is schools and the role of public schools in terms of, getting together, talking together. Maybe this is a place for Squamish Nation. We actually look at residential schools, and we look at, what were they moving from into residential schools? I don't know. These are all questions. None of this has been cleared by really many groups at all. This is just all concepts that I'm flying by. Click the wheel again. Let's go to the West Coast Railway Heritage Park. So what do we actually have there? Well, we've got transportation. We are a port. But what really sticks in my mind, and I can't wrap my mind around, is Squamish Nation. In summertime, or springtime, I suppose, really, they used to load all the families, other than some kids and some elderlies, onto canoes, and they used to all go down to Vancouver, and they fished on the Fraser. And I have this vision in my mind, what did that look like? how did they actually take, some of their planks and that kind of stuff on their canoes? How did they bring all that food back here? So I think it'd be really something interesting to say, let's think about this. How do we actually do this transportation? The other piece of that, I think, is communication as well. And again, a lot of people have said, you gotta get that turtle trail on the mountain bike app. Yep, I agree. For these kind of things, the QL codes, yep, good idea. Apps, all that kind of stuff. There is a lot of resources here in this town, people who are interested in communication. And the electronic communication revolution that we're undergoing right now is just as important and just as disruptive as Gutenberg's printing press. And the question is, how do we take that idea, bring it down to Squamish so that these big ideas become real in our own community? I think it's important. Click of the wheel again, and we actually look at Brennan Park and look at the issue of governance, I think. One of the things that I'm intrigued about is, again, Squamish Nation and the potlatch and the winter ceremonies and how all the politicking, the weddings, all that kind of stuff happened in the winter. And I go, wow, that's kind of cool. And the different decision-making mechanisms that they used. And I'm also struck by Howard Calla when he said, people say, but there's so many overlapping jurisdictions, and he laughs and he looks and he sort of said, yeah, kind of like the forest district doesn't match up with the hospital district, doesn't match up with the regional district, doesn't match up with, and the list goes on and on. So I think we could have some fun looking at some of those issues and some of the things that we take for granted. I'm also wondering if there might be an opportunity to talk a little bit here about how dangerous this valley is, and the preparedness, that kind of thing. Okay, so these are all ideas, and again, there's a bazillion different groups and people are going to want to say, but I want to do all this. So actually disciplining that so it actually works as a key for the entire community is going to be a challenge. And at some point, I think, why am I doing this? But it's worthwhile doing because it's an interesting community, I think. Okay. So again, how much information we want to be able to present and what kind of a timeline we want to do it really depends very much on what kind of a kiosk design, how we want to do that. So if we could have the next one, please. So the district has got this 4x8 format, down at the canoe shelter. And in the wayfinding, they also have the little inset kind of thing. So without even thinking about, the actual 3-column format and that kind of stuff, I'm just looking at that is there's a 4x8 chunk there, which basically could take 2 columns and we could accommodate that on that kind of format. Maybe more, maybe less, but we can argue about that. If we wanted to do a larger format, and then let's look at the next one. This is a BC Parks, and this is actually 3 times 4x8. So we can get quite a lot more information on this. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be this exact configuration, but just so you get a kind of concept, the idea. All of these have different price points as well, of course. So let's go to the third example, please. And this, of course, is Squamish Nation. And this actually has 4x8 can accommodate. So this could actually do the whole thing, this configuration. This obviously is much more expensive, but we don't have to do it necessarily that kind of expense, or we could, depending on what we want to do. But what I wanted to do is also talk a little bit about how well designed, and not from the hat, although the branding with the hat is totally brilliant, like the branding of the turtle is okay, that works too, and there's other examples around from the district and elections and that kind of thing. But what I wanted to draw your attention to is in the middle panel is a photograph. And I thought, why can't we get some artists, to do commissioned works? to actually look, properly paid artists to do commissioned works in this, to help us illustrate some of this, to go, oh, this is really cool. I hadn't thought of this way. I've worked with Zoe. That painting, which is on the wall here, is actually the centerpiece of a sign that's actually in the estuary. And Zoe also kindly worked with us to actually do a big bird drawing. So I know that some artists are interested in doing that, others may not be, I don't know, so that's up for conversation. One more, please. Maybe two more. This, again, well, I'm totally fascinated and I've learned a lot from the way this is all put together. For those of you who don't know, the cultural journey starts down at Horseshoe Bay and it ends at the Squamish Culture Center. And it's all those kiosks, there are 9 of them going up and they all tell a different story, but they've got things in common. And it also ties in and explains what the highway signs look like too. And so it is just exquisitely well designed from my perspective in terms of an information system. Not that we want to copy it, but I think it's really worthwhile actually learning from that. And next, as you see, this is one of the other ones as well. So my hope is, again, to soldier on with this. And again, I'm retired, so turtle patience is okay. For this to really work, we need to get buy-in from the community. So it can't matter, who actually sits in those chairs around there. It's really got to be a community project and community driving it forward. And I'm absolutely happy that Rob Kirkham was the first council that said, yeah, seems like a good idea to us. And Patty and her council has been dynamite in terms of helping, bring this along, And we'll see next council and the one after that and the one after that, how we actually go to develop this. So that's probably way over 10 minutes, but
Yeah, that's okay.
So questions?
So questions for Meg.
More than happy to.
So I'll kick it off. I remember that $2 million mark in my brain going, it seems an outrageous amount. I suspect that's to have it a corridor trail standard paving.
It probably is, Patty, but honestly, I would have to go and look at it
Yeah,
and see what's actually included. And
was
that,
about
doesn't
2-3
include
years ago.
engineering, doesn't include approvals, doesn't include any of that stuff. But as you know, looking at the Mamquam, there's developers that are going in there, that money is coming from a different place to do that.
Can we go back to the map, guys?
It's the very first one I know.
I'm just, might not be appropriate for this table, but you look at pretty much most of the stuff, the blind channel stuff will be done as it gets built out. The corridor trail, so the eastern portion from the Adventure Center down, Rose Park down is already there, and actually there's you can actually change that to actually go through Rose Park now, because it's all paved through there, which is great.
That's a concept.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not exact. So yeah, we can change it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff too.
And then the whole other side is essentially the dike. To the road, the old government road.
There's some interesting challenges because the old dump site, as you know, has got, like people going in there and actually looking at that, so that might have to be rerouted.
Sorry, I should have clarified. From essentially Brennan Park to where the old government road used to go over Buckley Crossing, but shoots down near the estuary. Between sort of downtown and that's the only part that's...
There's a big problem actually with Bob Fast Land. From the Railway Heritage Park to the railway tracks. There's a big problem with going across the railway tracks.
The tracks are a big problem,
yeah. So what my proposal is temporarily, and again, what that signing is, I don't know, but actually coming down onto Government Road and bypassing that. It doesn't mean we're going to use it, because right now we're just going right through anyway. But my feeling is that the district probably doesn't want to be promoting a trail that could put you in conflict with private property owners. That to me is not a good thing.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is if we wait to start the communications piece and the wayfinding piece to have the trail done,
No, we're
it's
not.
going to be a long time.
That's it. I agree. And I'm sorry, I should have made that.
And I think, so that's a council budget decision and all that sort of thing. I'm just trying to get to the nub of what you want this committee other than to make them aware of the project, to make them aware of the art integration into the project, and to keep it on their radar as it moves forward.
I would like to have some input. Do you think it's a good idea to actually incorporate artists into the interpretive plan? How do we go about doing that? So visuals, the arts council, all that good kind of stuff, because we will have to take this, to a different level and actually talk about those kinds of possible participation in that. Costing for artists, there's so much I don't know. There's a lot that needs to go into this.
Peter?
So I want to keep on track because I think that was the question I was going to. It's about art. So really interesting because I have quite an interest in this. My business partner just produced a map for Aware of an interpretive trail for Whistler for all their trees. I produce hiking maps for Squamish and Whistler. So maps and hiking. So when you talk about the map side of it, I completely get it. What I'm trying to get a grasp on is there's some fantastic ideas. I think it's really great. But I'm trying to understand the purpose of it. So if you came to the committee and we were talking about it's a interpretive walk for art, then it's one thing. The second one, if it's a reconciliation piece, that's another one. And so this is more of a business planning sort of discussion, which probably not for now, but that's where to clarify. And then what else did I write here? And then really what the partnership piece as well. To me, this sounds like a tourism Squamish project, and that's where I was going. Okay, what is this? Even the district, it's like tourism Squamish, and then if the district's a part of it, and then the arts, there's an art piece to it.
Well, I actually have done a presentation to Tourism Squamish some time ago, and I've done a presentation all over the place actually with phase 1. This is now phase 2 as I conceive it. And you're right, if people just want to go for a ride, even with their families, perfect, that's for you. If people are interested in other stuff, or they have their Uncle Joe who's coming that happens to be interested in transportation, then there may be stuff there that he or she would be interested in. So the intention is not to be only one thing. And let me tell you, that's not easy, because forestry people said, we can tell stories about the whole valley. Yep, I got it. And so can Squamish Nation. And so can recreation users. So the intention is to get as many people at the table with that appetizer. And it doesn't make it easier at all. But the community is not easy either.
So I'd say this is that when you mentioned the 2 million price tag, it's like you've already gone through 3 stages. So years ago, there was a map made for Squamish, and Squamish Tourism produced a map 2 years ago which had every single hiking trail and every single mountain bike trail and every single one. They're not printing it this year, and we're going to print a new Squamish hiking map to include that. But the reason I bring that up, if you stand outside Valhalla, they've still got the old map, which was commissioned by Tourism Squamish, I believe, to do what you said. So the story you said about
No,
people
I actually did it, and they bought it off me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Really? That's your name? Oh, wow.
Way before GPS, it was all just conceptual.
Very good.
Oh, thank you.
Right, anyway, so you can talk about that.
I can sit here and let you talk, but
Listen, I think there's a lot of information that has been developed and is being developed in a lot of different sectors around. The intention of this is to be like a key in. So if there are those maps, those apps, that kind of stuff, then on that information kiosk, you would have links or information. When I think about the business one, I can just see, and that probably being unfair, a list of all the businesses. And my thought is, okay, we can do that, but somebody has to keep that updated. Do you want to do that? Or maybe there's a different way of referring to the downtown BIA, the Chamber of Commerce, so that they can keep that information, so that we can do that. Business is important, past, present, and future. Here's what we're looking at, but we can't be that kind of level of detail. That's
I think integrating art into it is, to be honest, integrating art into everything I think is important.
There you go.
That check. But I don't necessarily think it should be painting necessarily. Maybe it's metalwork, maybe it's.
Absolutely.
But I think that's something to keep in mind as this evolves, is that particularly as you create the markers and the wayfinding and all that, that it becomes a cultural journey. I don't want to
Yes.
steal their tagline, but that it's not just we're going to go and ride our bikes, we're going to value add that experience, essentially is what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, we need to move on. Jackie?
I had similar questions to Pete, but, and you've answered them. But I did ask, you talked about private property and things like that. So I noticed that you have points like Howe Sound and the Sikh Temple, which are privately owned. So putting kiosks on those properties, no?
That's not the intention.
It would be on district property.
It-
Oh, okay.
In proximity
And
to
is there
those
enough-
locations.
Those details need to be looked at.
Yeah, given the size of those kiosks.
Well,
is
we
there
don't
enough
know,
space
because
to put them there?
that's right. So not only the cost, but also the location.
Yeah.
You know, is something to be determined. The
Okay.
answer is, we don't know.
And I agree that there should be an artistic and a historical, as you talked about the history of the valley, and the Historical Society can be part of that too. That art in various forms be, the kiosk itself can be a work of art. So, yeah, that was just my comment on the question.
Okay, thanks, Meg.
You're
That was
welcome.
really helpful.
And if anybody wants a map.
Sydney, did you want to say
because-
something? Sorry.
I was just gonna say, if you wanted to, you just had a quick question for the committee about asking on pricing for art, and if you put a column like a bid, rather than saying, trying to put into your budget, oh, I'm gonna budget $500 or $5,000 for this piece, ask the artist what they would charge. So if you put the call out there, people will respond with what they think that they should be fairly compensated for.
See, I don't even know how to put the call out.
Okay, we can.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, yeah, so there's,
You've got your expert over
yeah,
there.
exactly. There's just-
And just to add to that as well, when Cydney will probably help, but aware their map, which they produced for their trees, it was overrun. So
Oh, yeah.
I think there's
And
a
they're gonna
lot
sell
of
it.
money out there.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem is going after the money before we actually have the, in quote, shovel-ready project, before we at least have the concept and what we're after. Because I just don't feel good about just kind of winging it, you know, so.
So I just have a comment, and that is with the branding. If I was a visitor coming to Squamish, I would be expecting to see turtles along the way, and think that that Squamish was a turtle sanctuary. So so I don't particularly like that branding. I don't know.
As I've said, you know, right from the get-go, we can change it.
Yeah.
You know, we can change it. We could make it dollars, you know, follow the money. You know, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
And
I just don't,
everybody
I just
said,
feel that.
why turtle?
I mean, I know why, because of the shape of it on the
That's
on the
not,
map.
I don't think
No?
that's why.
Well, that's one of the reasons. And
Well,
it
happens-
resonates.
That happened to,
But
Work.
I too
Work.
have a question about the branding, because I thought, well, where are all the turtles?
in a lot
It's
of
kind
First
of like
Nations
blue
cultures,
trees.
in a
Why
lot
are
of
we-
First Nations cultures, the
I was
turtle
gonna
is
say-
North America.
Yes.
It's a foundational First Nations piece.
Yes,
And so that would obviously have to be told.
so that was the
If
only
that was
connection I
to-
made.
Yeah,
was to-
yeah, that needs to be clear.
To the First Nation
Yeah.
turtle.
Yeah.
It
I love
actually
turtles. I
does
have
speak
turtles.
about it a little
Okay.
bit. So if anybody
So
doesn't
then
have
the
a
brand-
brand,
the branding, I guess, needs to be stronger.
But you'd have to communicate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it does.
I think, you know, it's a family slow thing. It's not like there's a whole bunch of sort of metaphor in there too, so.
But it's a good question. It's kind of like blue trees. My blue trees, what are these blue trees?
Okay, thank you very much, Meg.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem, thank you. So we were supposed to have a Biennale update. Unfortunately, poor Rachel was here last night. Felt really bad about that. And I think there was a couple things Rachel wanted to address with the committee. One was possible final resting place for this beautiful day. New upcoming Biennale projects potentially. Devon, you remind me what else she was? Anyway, she'll come next time. Excellent.
Sorry, before you go ahead. She's looking for a resting place for.
Biennale
this
is,
beautiful day?
This Beautiful Day is a Biennale piece.
Yeah.
It was part of their community, their residency program, which we were under the understanding was gifted to Squamish. All the residency program projects were supposed to be gifted to Squamish. There's a long story there. Anyway, it's been in Winnett Park for a couple of years now, maybe 3 or 4 now, and it's just on cement blocks, and it's got sort of fencing around it. Actually, the Australian government donated a bunch of money to get the solar panels and stuff, so there's a bit of a story behind it. But we met with them about a month ago to talk about where because it was only supposed to be there for 2 years and then find a home, and so it's long overdue to sort of be.
So is this a piece of sculpture?
No, it's the neon, This Beautiful Day thing in the park, right on the water.
Oh, that one, yes,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's gonna belong to Squamish now? It was made for Squamish, and now it just needs a permanent resting place?
We're looking for a permanent home for that, and to give it the proper treatment. It was put together and located very quickly, and ultimately, I think we'd like to make it look nice.
Yeah, it's kind of lost where it is currently.
Yeah. Well, I think once the oceanfront's
Yeah.
actually built out, and once that Sirocco is built, you're going to see lots of people walking. Turtle Trail will go there. So I think it's actually in a great location. It's an old village site, Winnett, and
Just currently, there's no construction.
well,
And
currently right now, yeah.
Patty
So-
was speaking to was the temporary fencing look around
Yeah.
it.
That's what I'm saying,
that she-
yeah.
Yeah, and so we've talked about whether we put it on top of the canoe shelter. You want to put it somewhere it doesn't get vandalized. So anyway, there's discussion about that, so she wants to bring that to the committee. So she'll do that next month. It looks great. Up there, everybody?
There it is.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
Anyone having a problem with it?
So did you say there was more than one decal?
Well, there's.
They're on all those
Oh, yes,
metal
I see those.
posts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if the committee, if we're in support of leaving the artwork up, that we just make a recommended motion that the Public Art Committee supports keeping the Wind Festival decals, what do you want to call them, decals up on the pavilion, and I guess it's,
Until such time that,
For as long as possible.
they look crappy.
yeah, yeah.
Because they will have a
Until
shelf
they
on
need
that.
Well, I think
how much
essentially we want to
it
make
needs
sure the message gets through to ops to not go and peel it down.
Exactly, yeah.
And
And, both Cydney and I have good established relationships with ops that they would certainly come to at least one
Yeah.
of us first before doing that.
yeah, but I think it's worthwhile putting a motion forward that we support it staying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moved by Meg, second by Toby. All those in favor? Opposed, motion goes, yeah. Staff updates.
Staff updates. On a completely unrelated note.
I think we mentioned this last time, but the 2 murals look great downtown.
Yeah, they do, don't
Yeah,
they?
they're beautiful.
Yeah, they do look great. That has absolutely nothing to do with me, but
I'm gonna have
they
some
do look
time on my
great.
hand, maybe I'll do a mural.
Was there a question last time on the building next to Husky, whether that was going to be a...
Yes.
I've spoken to.
Thank you, thank you. And I had talked to planning, and planning had put in their requirements that a mural will be going up there.
So
Yes.
where is this?
Well, it was part of the DP process.
Yes.
What council approved was a mural on that. And I believe the developer's responsible for
Correct.
paying for it. There's a budget, there's a number, so they have to do something there.
Yeah.
But wasn't the question whether or not we wanted to see if Chili's could go there perhaps?
Oh,
or-
yeah, that's what
And,
happened.
and they already have a plan for it.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, speaking with staff in the planning department, and specifically the Carrie Hamilton is the planner on the project, and she's been working with the applicant
Okay.
on a specific piece of art.
Does something like that then, when it's an art piece, the planning department, they vet it and they decide whether it goes and... Cause
You know what, Mayor might have better insight into the process here.
Yeah, that one came up just as this committee was getting going, the DP. And so ultimately, I think those types of things should come through the Public Art Committee, not through the Planning Department to decide what the mural should look like, the Public Art Committee. I'm a little disappointed that's not happening, because that's why we set this committee up. So maybe have a conversation with planning. That's not their job anymore. Once they've done the planning, that's not their job. It's maybe their job to make sure the developers has fulfilled their promise. But it's not for them to determine, to work with the developer for the art, to put the art up. This committee's role to do that.
Understood. I'll make sure that communication goes back.
I could just stay on the side, but those pieces of art, the murals are fantastic, but an artist had mentioned to me, they felt it was a shame, say the Pink Flamingo one, like, no, that's the welcome to downtown Squamish. Although it's a great piece, you know, as an artist, like, is that really the first thing you want to see when you come downtown? And so then, no, I'm not saying it is a resident, it's like...
What is art and who gets to decide, right?
Exactly, but I'm just wondering how it went through that process, and that's why I brought it up. That thing.
No, that came to this. We put a little bit of money towards the paint, and so we have a program whereby people, if they want to do a mural, they can come, provide their concept, and we've given small amounts of money to essentially go towards supplies and stuff like that. So, and there's about 3 or 4 murals, and the mural stands mural festival. We supplied funds for that, so I think almost all the murals that have gone up, we've contributed something
Yes,
to
that's my
the
understanding.
committee. Yeah, we did have some discussion about that one on that side there. Fundamentally, that's on private property, so it's hard for us to impose our tastes. If it was on public property, public art, different, but if it's private property, we could have said no and not supplied any paint for it, but technically it's their property, so they choose what they want to put on their building.
Then they have to go through the planning department to get that done.
They don't have to go to the
No.
planning department.
Which I suspect will be what the feedback will be. Me going back to the planning department to remind them that they don't necessarily get to vet the art. I suspect the feedback will be that the developer made the decision on what would be applied to that building. But I will reconfirm that back to the committee.
And that'll happen for sure. But the other thing too, that there has been development applications in infancy on the empty lot, so that Pink Flamingo might not stay there. It's 0 lot line. The other one faces onto a parking lot, so it'll stay there, and we can't use that parking lot for anything but parking because we got it from the Crown for that purpose. So that might have been when you were on council. Anyway, but the Flamingo, it was also like, this might not be here very long because someone could redevelop that lot any day now.
Just to clarify, it wasn't a commentary on the art piece, it was an understanding on like the process, and I just wanted to understand if a piece of art goes to the wall and somebody decides to put something really fancy there or whatever, it's like, oh, you know, whatever it is happening.
Yeah. If it's private property, we really can't do anything about it. We can not fund it, help fund it through this committee, but if it's private, as long as it's not defamatory or offensive or somehow contravene the Constitution of Canada or something.
Like the Confederate flag or something?
Yeah, but we're not the morality police.
Chili's piece then is still in storage and looking for a home. Is there any way we can let potential developers know then that that is maybe something that could go up?
That could be incorporated
They could
into development?
incorporate into a new plan, just if there's, you know. And again, if they start coming through us, we can let them know that that's there as well. I don't know what the process would be, but.
It's my understanding that the Chili Tom piece is property of the Squamish Arts Council. Is that, I mean,
Yeah.
specifically, holistically, maybe there's,
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, in crunching, getting to the nuts and bolts, it was commissioned by the Arts Council when I believe Chile was either part of the Arts Council or just finishing up being part of the Arts Council. This was a long time ago. But maybe someone else who had actually more background on that might do.
I think
But-
ironically, indirectly, I think the funding came through the
Or
district,
maybe
to the Arts
they-
Council, and they
yeah,
commissioned the work.
Yeah.
Either way, I believe the Arts
But-
Council owns it technically.
But.
But I think the point is you guys want to find a home for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want it to be seen, you want it to be restored and get up there. It's a great,
Exactly.
so, but I think it's worthwhile maybe just making the planning department aware that that is out there, and if they, if there's an opportunity
Would that be
that they
for the,
see.
to be taken to the planning, that AEP role to take it to the?
That could be a function of the liaison, the person on the committee from this committee. To just make sure that's top of mind. and-
Yeah, exactly, that it's.
Yeah, or if you see a development saying, hey, we've got this mural that we're trying to locate, that absolutely.
And who would fund the restoration of it?
Well, it could be the developer, depending on what the expectation is of the rezoning or the development application or.
I would personally recommend Stan to be the person who
Yeah.
should do the.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we would.
definitely, you would want that,
Yeah.
but just who would fund it and, yeah, okay.
I mean, it could be this committee, it could be Arts Council, it could be the developer. I
Or
don't
some
think,
group, some,
no.
yeah.
It's about, just to give context, roughly 20 by 38, 30,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range is going to be fairly large.
The two little weird cutouts.
Weird kind of, yeah.
Just didn't want to block the windows.
Even kind of windows.
So it's weird. Love it.
And it's all on plywood, so ideally it would be on a surface that might have a bit of covering as well, ideally.
It would need protection then.
Ideally.
Yeah,
Okay.
ideally. It
Alright.
could be out in the elements, it's just it would be completely
I'm
marine.
just I'm wondering, would that be something nice that would go in the community center or somewhere where a lot of members of the community could see it rather than like
It would be
a
great, it's just a
private
20 by 30
thing?
space is a really big wall without fire extinguishers on it, like some sort of, you know what I mean? Like, it's
That's
hard to
true,
find a
yeah.
wall that
Or
big.
light switches
And that doesn't need to drill into concrete
Yeah.
either, because that
needs to be
really
drilled in.
increases your costs in terms of painting it.
Okay, next.
Just to continue on with the budget, you guys have been a low spending in the 2018 year.
We tried to spend lots of money.
We
this
tried
year.
to, you certainly did try to spend lots of money. You could probably tack on another couple of $100 onto the 5,300 just for newspaper advertisements for the call to artists. And
Let's let Devin finish.
and then last meeting, we talked about the Mayor for a Day Crosswalk and its application down in Valleycliff. And it was requested, operations requested some funds from Public Art, and in turn, Public Art requested an amount to approach for contribution, and they have come back with a request of $2,000 to be put towards the permanent stencil of the Mayor for a Day Crosswalk by Jonas of the,
I could have done it for way less than 2,000 total. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
What,
In the, yeah.
wasn't this the idea though that they were gonna come back to us with a dollar amount and that was going to be it? Like that, it was gonna be like a one-time deal, or am I confused?
No, it's a one-time.
It was
No,
a
it's a
one-time.
one-time. It's a
One-time deal,
one-time deal.
$2,000,
Correct.
it's maintained, done.
yeah,
To cover the cost of the plywood that's been cut out.
yeah.
Right.
And is that the plywood? Or is there?
It's sections of the plywood.
Oh.
There's somewhere between 15 and 20 pieces that
Okay.
put together. that
Oh, but I
create-
thought it was also for the paint too, like the ongoing maintenance and, like, no.
They've requested $2,000.
Yeah.
The project in terms of this
Right.
crosswalk was more than that.
Oh.
But they absorb in their annual budget the paint and the.
I was just gonna say, does it
Yeah,
come
hours.
from their own operating budget?
Did they itemize that?
Yeah, they went through and they provided a,
Oh, okay.
yeah. they-
Do we have that?
It went out, I can re-provide it, it wouldn't have been recent, it would have been prior to the summertime. It would have
It
come.
wasn't painted until August.
Correct, but the only thing that I might have emailed you guys out that would have included the invoice would have been the, hey, Public Art Committee, this is being painted this weekend. I don't think I put the invoice on
I don't think
that.
they
I think
itemize.
I just did.
Yeah,
The
I'd like to
template
see,
is-
I'd like to see ops itemize it, like, I want to understand why it cost $2,000 to cut out the plywood. And Devon, we need to set that up with the student ASAP, because I'm only mayor for 3 more weeks.
Oh, thank you. That had completely, yeah. I didn't write that actually down.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask, has it happened yet?
November 6th, like, there has to be a new group inaugurated before this group can,
Terry, I'll get with you tomorrow
Yeah.
on my schedule.
okay. So if we could get an itemized, like, just like to understand where they came up with that.
The $2,000, yes.
And, because it doesn't include the actual painting of it. This is just to create the stencil.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Okay.
Can I
Next.
just-
Yep.
They're also undertaking, the extra labor, right? On an ongoing annual basis, to take it out of storage, to bring it, which is more than just painting the crosswalk. So,
To close the road, to flip the facade, to re-close the road.
I'm assuming they have to close the road anyway when they're painting it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is sort of like additional beyond what they would have to do if it's just, so I think perhaps the $2,000 for that
That's why I'm asking
ongoing.
for it itemized.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it's been articulated to us, just they want the cost of what it cost them to make the stencil. That the added work, isn't going to cost $700 to paint, it's going to cost $1,200 to paint. The average zebra spray costs about $700, $800 to paint. This one, a little bit more paint, a little bit more time.
Yeah, but that's still money too, though, isn't it?
Absolutely is, but that's not what they're asking. They're asking
No, but
for
they
the
might ask for
stencil.
one in lieu of, like an ongoing cost.
I can see it getting to that mark only because of the design time and then the design time on it, yeah.
Get the information.
And if there was computer time, I don't know. I just want to know, I just want to see it itemized. Okay, anything else? There was another question on the previous one.
Just on the previous slide on the budget, the Squamish Mural Festival, that's happened? Okay.
Where did they do the new murals this year?
You got, the new ones were on Meg's, one downtown on the wall by Saha Cafe, and there's a third. There's a third right
Yeah,
now
I
that's
just can't
escaping me.
remember.
Is that under the bridge?
No, that's not.
The flamingos.
The flamingo was the other one.
Oh, okay.
Oh. I didn't know that was part of that mural festival. Anyway,
Okay,
cool.
that's all.
So if Ops wants $2,000, that would take us down to 33?
It would bring you up to 73.
Oh, that's not
That's your
the
spend.
remainder, that's the, okay.
Spend.
Correct, that's your spend.
Okay. Okay. So, just back on that budget, if we have $7,000 in the minor projects, are there any last minute, year-end projects the committee wants to pursue or put a call out for, or don't have to do it today, but maybe just think about that?
I would love to see children do something.
Children have done, so we've supplied
I know
some.
They did the crosswalk too, right?
They also
The cross with
did
the
area-
underpass.
What was that? It was not a garbage dump, it was.
hydro route?
Then they did the one,
Oh, yeah.
hospital.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
actually done 3 or
Yeah.
4 or 5 different projects through this committee, so, yeah, which is great, yeah. And we are continually open to that, and, once the new pump station gets built near House Sound Secondary School, perhaps that's something else we
An opportunity for.
wrap.
Yeah.
Good camp location,
The what?
a good camp location for the Arts Council.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay,
Could we do some colorful art in the estates?
absolutely. It can be anywhere in the community.
And that might be something that the committee wants to think about in terms of their, the different areas of our community that make up Squamish, Brackendale, Paradise Valley Road, the Highlands. This committee has been strategically focused on kind of downtown.
Although the proposals that are brought to us, we don't say make it downtown, they've just brought downtown to us. And we did, our very first project was one in Brackendale, one in the Highlands, the fish, the salmon, so, but we are absolutely open to other areas.
There's that alley in between the Squamish Hotel and the independent grocery store.
Yeah.
People do use it as a walkthrough. It would be so nice to do one of those like Vancouver style alley projects.
Yeah.
Make it colorful, put some seating in there.
Cheakamus alley was done by Tiano, and I was actually looking at it just before I came here and it came up.
That alley?
Yeah, he's doing a project
It would be nice
on
to add some color down there.
I mean, well, if it, and that's a perfect look, it's on private property, so technically, if the buildings, the owners, artists approach them and they want to come to us for some funding, that we're totally open to that, absolutely. I want my Rick Mercer rant alley, so I can have a new career.
Well, people were talking about that whole area, and in behind the Independent, that really could be redesigned as a mall and more artistically appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been talk about that for a long, long time. It's very, very expensive. They may want to create a business improvement area, for example, that might help, fund that a little bit more directly and get that happening more quickly. That is a decision for future councils, not this committee. But it's a good idea. It's been talked about for quite a while, sort of creating a little restaurant district back there.
But even, the alley could be the start of it, is the artistic.
It's private property.
Yeah, you're right.
Is this art committee's mandate just to add public art into the community, or is it also programs, art programs?
Just public art.
Just physical public art?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can send you the link to the terms of reference
Yeah.
and you can take a look
I
through.
did look through them.
Yeah, this is
briefly.
the Public Art Committee. Programs,
Where it
Arts
says
Council
Arts
does it
Council
great,
does
there's private
programming,
groups,
yeah.
Rec Center does some in partnership. This is not programming here at all. It's another budget.
It's not theater and music, it's purely physical.
Physical,
Public art.
Public art,
Yeah.
according to the terms of reference.
There's a Vancouver artist, Ron Simmer, which I put in touch with you. He had Ron Simmer's he creates big piece of art. He does bike packs for the city of Vancouver, sort of quite creative. And he had this giant hammock that he wanted to get rid of, and I said, well, can I reach out? So that was.
Did the Clasina Van Bemmel stuff ever transpire? Came to the Public Art Committee a while ago. She had a bunch of pieces that were in the States somewhere, and can you have a look into that?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
On that note of just more projects before the end of the year, Arts Council's had maybe 3 or 4 people that have reached out to inquire, inspired by Luminous downtown. So we've referred them through here. I'm not sure if they will actually come and follow up, so we might see more applications.
Well, encourage them to do the coordinated.
Maybe, Devin, we could put out another ad through the district or something, just to remind the community that there's a funding source to help with these projects.
It would be nice to allow maybe some, going back to the youth, some teenagers, I'll call it teenagers to do mural making. We're always looking for something to do. I have 2 teenagers, fortunately, one's at university.
Yeah, we can send that to
One's always
the
looking
high
for something
schools.
to do, we're gonna hang out and do
Yeah.
in Squamish. It'd be nice to give them a project.
We have been, and let's get it to the art classes.
Maybe through, through the art classes.
Yeah,
through school.
we've done that before, and the alternate school.
Absolutely,
School.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Anything else, Devin?
No,
Okay. There are no recommendations, referrals to council, roundtable, quickly. Why don't we start with Cydney?
I guess more of a question is sort of what, I guess personally I'm a bit unclear what the status of this committee is going to be after November. So I don't know if I can provide more clarity, but.
So the terms of the committees, obviously, it's up to future council to decide if they want to have a select committee. This is a policy of the district, a public art policy, to have the committee. So I would hope that future councils wouldn't disrupt the committee. Maybe they want to refine it more, maybe they want to add performance art, I don't know. But currently, I would hope, I would not be on this committee anymore, technically, although I could come on as a private citizen, if council would have me. But a member of council would technically chair the committee under the current terms of reference. I've never thought that it's necessary for a member of council to chair this committee. Like, I wouldn't mind in the future if the terms of reference were changed to have someone else chair this committee. I don't think it's necessary to have the member of council chair the committee. The current terms of reference actually say that, but that's something that the committee can have a discussion with whoever is appointed as the council rep on this committee.
To further that question, just because we've been putting funding away for X amount of years, is that, in a sense, guaranteed to some extent to be like used for the projects that we intended to?
I think it's currently put into public art reserve. Now, council can, really councils, we cannot fetter the decisions of future councils. So we can't technically, under the legislation, put things in there, in the OCP and anything that future councils can't go and disrupt. It's just the prerogative of the day. So, but it is in a specific reserve, so it would take bylaws to actually change that and redesignate those monies elsewhere. I hope they wouldn't disrupt. I think it was slow, but we've created a lot of opportunity and a lot of artwork in the community in the last 4 years, more in the last 3 years than the last 20 years in town, really, from a public art point of view. So I would hope they would continue that. Good question, Cydney. Peter, do you have anything to?
Just a clarification maybe on when you're saying you're seeking artists, so I mentioned a couple. First of all, is there a requirement that they're Squamish artists, or is it called out?
Not necessarily. We have an application. It's online. They can just fill it out. Comes to the committee. Committee might have questions for them. It's always good to come and, be a delegation and plead your case. If you just sort of send in, give me money to do something, you might not be successful. But there's an application online, and so any artist can go on there and then come to the committee and say, hey, I have an idea. And the committee goes, yay or nay. Yeah, simple. Angela?
Other than just making sure that that's advertised really well, I think, for artists. I don't think as an artist in the community, I would have known that I could just come to this committee and ask for money.
So I made this point last meeting as well. Yes, this is absolutely a funding source for artists. The main funding source this is not a granting committee, and that the granting main opportunities exist within the Squamish Arts Council through the money that council directs to them.
Well, that's for groups, like predominantly for like Between Shifts and the Performing Arts Society, and that's predominantly for programming stuff, not necessarily for artists.
Works of art.
Yeah, like if there was because this is public art, right? So if I was an artist, I wanted to put public art out there.
Yes, that's a good clarifier.
Yeah,
yes, correct.
That's
Yes,
an important thing.
that's the
to-
clarifier,
As was
correct.
clarified, just like
Yeah.
this is like public, visual, physical art.
Yes.
And if I wanted to do that, I could.
Yeah, and it can be on private property as long as it's in a publicly accessible,
Right. As long as the public can.
like the side of
Right.
the Chinese restaurant. Like, it's technically on district property. If they want to come and put something on district property, this is absolutely the forum that they'd have to bring it to. They don't need to come to this forum to put a mural up, but if they want some help funding it, then they could come here.
Is there an opportunity there to put out a request, people have a private space that they would like to offer for art, public art? And we can have that in an inventory.
We could create an inventory of blank walls. I know Stan has gone around and really looked at every blank wall in town. So, I mean, I don't think that's actually that difficult. And I think once more and more murals get up there, you're gonna have landowners go, I wouldn't mind making my place a little prettier too. So I think it'll snowball. But, I mean, in theory, we could have an inventory, but I think essentially Stan's already done one, so we could just ask him. I think the challenge is getting the word out there, because it's not something we can advertise every week, you know? And so we do rely on word of mouth, and anytime you get a referral, anyone talks to someone, say, hey, go online, go check it out.
Well, soon it just becomes a thing, and with the murals too, I come from a small town in Ontario, that over the last 2-3 decades, people come to our town to see our murals. And murals, the interesting thing too, and it's something maybe in future committee meetings we can talk about, but there's a real theme to those murals. It's like they went into it with a more of a strategy, and theirs had to do with the history of logging actually in Little Pembroke, Ontario. And it's grown so much that my sister-in-law has now put together a grant application to do a mural that's for current generation young youth getting involved and the things that are important to them in our small town, not just about the history, but also current things. And it'd be nice to see, you know, eventually that could become a thing here in Squamish that maybe people will just know about. It just takes time to build up that culture.
Well, it's like Cheakamus on the island is really very much, you know, they're pioneers there, and they've made it a thing. But they were driven by specific economic development initiatives to drive tourism, to create something that drew people to the towns.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Some people think we have too many people coming to town. So, but you know, you could certainly create a mural attraction here in town. I think that's sort of what Stan wants to do.
Yeah, sounds like
and I think there's pros and cons to sort of contriving it too much or letting it just manifest organically too. So
yeah, find a balance there between the two. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Map, district map, art map. I'm just wondering where we're going, because we've had a number of different art projects go up, that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering if we actually have the documentation, or if other people know about the initiative to actually do the cataloging of existing public art, you know, like in Squamish, and use the map tool for that. So I just don't know where we are and where we might be going with that.
Well, I'll just answer this quickly. I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's going to get done properly unless we hire someone to do it. We haven't been successful at just sort of plunking away at ourselves. You've been the best at it, Meg. And it could be something that we somehow commission a Quest student to do or something, but maybe that's something we want to decide at the end of the year. If there's $2,000 or $3,000 left in the minor projects, maybe we say, hey, maybe put an RFP out to have someone actually come out and collect all the data and put it in there and actually get it going. Because I think that's what it's going to take, to be honest.
Yeah, someone dedicated to that?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I'm not sure about is the follow-up after the art project, if we actually have some of that data. I know on the public art, what is it, the committee, the terms of reference kind of thing, at the back there's actually a sheet, you know, that artist name, what the purpose is, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if we actually have that.
I don't know either.
So it's data to work from, or is it just kind of disappears, it's there, and then there's no information?
I'm going to explain back to you what I think you just said so that we're on the same page. You're looking for a way to extract the information from what has been loaded up so that it can be used in a database?
No, I'm not actually. I'm interested in the artists when they put the proposal together, and we saw Geraldine, you know, came back to us and said, okay, these number of people, this is what the cost, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we have that for other artwork, so that we actually have a follow-up, and this is the conclusion of the arts piece, and then we have that on file. So if we get a student from Quest, we actually have something to work from, not just go and say, well, you have to start from scratch. Like, who are the artists, who are the people who actually put this project together?
Okay.
Do we have documentation?
Yeah, there's,
Well,
since the inception of the committee, there's really only been, let's say 10 to 15 applications.
Yeah, so I think we should put a spreadsheet together, so we at least have all that outlined in terms of what the committees put money towards, the location of it. Just a simple spreadsheet is a good start.
If this is economic data on the Economic Development Committee getting a bunch of data which they're compiling for that project, I spoke yesterday when I went to that meeting at the Adventure Centre, and I got Taylor, as I understand, Economic Development is trying to get as much data.
Yeah,
So
their
that
data
is
collection
that
is more on labor pools, population. They extract it from mostly from, it's
But I
mostly
think,
from the
I
census.
think they would appreciate having,
Yeah, let's have one person talk at a time.
I think they would appreciate having that kind of data as an attractor. You know,
Oh,
art
yeah,
as an
absolutely.
attractor.
Yep, no, I mean, art is an economic driver for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not going to generate it.
No, but if we share that information.
Absolutely, everything the district does is shared
Yeah.
amongst departments, for sure. All right, Meg, are you done?
That was all I wanted to say, other than thank you hugely for your contributions to the community, because we're not going to see you in this kind of forum again.
Is this your last meeting with us?
My last public art. The mead was delicious, but
Oh, good. Need some more?
I do actually. Jackie, have anything more?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. I missed it, you were talking about the next ADP meeting?
Council has to approve a change in terms of reference for ADP, and I'm not sure when that's coming back to council.
Shortly.
I think it's either this week or the week after. Anyway,
So
and then once that's done, if it gets approved by council, then you would be part of that mailing list.
And then the terms of the Truth and
Unless you're on council.
Yeah.
Truth and Reconciliation, that whole piece of artwork, and the outreach, one of our last meetings, we
Mhm.
talked about, I think it was yourself, we're going to outreach to some of the elders to make.
To some of the artists.
And,
Yeah,
yeah, but
I haven't gotten through to Crash yet, but I have a meeting on Thursday with the nation, next Thursday, so it's on my list to speak to them. We missed our last meeting with them, it got canceled, so
okay,
unfortunately, haven't been able to.
but that's ongoing, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
trying to move forward.
yeah, I'll
Okay,
do that.
I just wanted to, I wondered where that had gone.
Yeah, no, it just got waylaid by
10 other
meetings that
things.
got canceled and stuff.
Okay.
Anna?
I guess just on that note, I just wanted some clarification on the relationship with First Nations in this committee.
Well, we
How
have
do
Suecia sits on this committee. She hasn't been able to make it the last couple of meetings. She's a crazy busy girl. So we have a First Nations representative on this committee. And there's no formal, I mean, the district is doing work with First Nations all the time. It's an ongoing relationship, a highly important one. But the committee, particularly through Truth and Reconciliation, there's going to be constant communication with the elders, with the nation. I mean, it's just starting to ramp up once we sort of actually start to actually move it forward and actually have some submissions that we can bounce off the elders. The next phase of it, how that works out. So it's evolutionary for sure.
Okay, and right now that's the role of the chair. If First Nations representative is missing from the meeting, does the chair speak to them if there's something related to First Nations project?
Could be, yeah. Or Devon, yeah.
Okay.
Or whoever we designate, really. Yeah. You don't have to say anything, I'm just going
I
around.
don't have to say anything, other than, thanks Janice and Meg and Jackie for coming to the opening reception at the Foyer Gallery last week for the Big Rock Artists. If you haven't
I was out of
been,
town.
if you haven't been to the show, you gotta go check it out.
Well, I have my
And the-
breakfast, mayor's breakfast tomorrow morning.
Oh, yes, yes, there'll be lots of
I'm-
people there, that's awesome.
No.
And thank you so much, Patty, for
Yes, thank you.
being the chair and initiating this whole committee, and we're gonna miss you. And
I might be like a bad penny. You
And-
can't get rid of me. Okay with us.
And what about my art that's in your office?
Well, I get it for 3 more weeks and then you can come. It has graced my walls,
Yeah.
Toby's artwork, and I get lots of comments on it, so it's been well viewed.
Thanks. Can
Cool.
I ask you what your plans are, or?
I'll speak about that.
Okay, wait till we're off.
But yeah, I do have my last mayor's breakfast tomorrow, just hoping to see council candidates there, and just talking about what's the future? Where's Squamish in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? How do we get there? Just a big conversation. I make muffins and granola.
Really good granola.
I'm sorry,
Really good granola.
Usually get going about 8, but it's kind of open at 7:30 court date, and people show up.
Here?
It's in the
In
library.
the
Oh,
library.
library.
Yeah. Alrighty, thanks everybody. A motion to
very much.
terminate the meeting, moved by Cydney, seconded by Jackie. All those in favor, opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you, Terry.